This is how Tucker Carlson's ideological laundering works. You bring your dirty, ugly ideologies to Tucker Carlson's rhetorical car wash. He mixes it with some of the vestigial respect Americans have for him from his Fox News days, and voila, hideous ideas suddenly become mainstream. And then, of course, Tucker denies he said anything controversial at all. He was just asking questions. He was just interviewing people. You don't want him to cancel people, do you? Of course, there is no First Amendment right to a Tucker Carlson sensual massage. But to listen to Tucker, you'd think there was, so long as you despise America, oppose President Trump's foreign policy, and bear a peculiar dislike of Jews. Tucker Carlson.
Boom. So Benny Boy is not happy about the interview we watched last week with our buddy Nick Fuentes. What do you think? Do you think that was an honest characterization of the interview with Tucker?
Yeah, I think that's a perfect characterization, honestly, of the interview with Tucker. Now, I'll be honest, I will still shoot Tucker a little bit of bail because I feel like there were some places where he did kind of press him. There was many more places where I feel like he should have pressed him even more, like with the Stalin situation.
Yeah.
But I think that that's a perfect example of who Tucker is. And I would like to talk a little bit about why I think that that's dangerous. And if we stop holding each other accountable, and if we stop holding each other accountable and we start going down this road of like every interview that you go to and every conversation that you have is just this easy ideology where I agree with you and you agree with me and there's no pushback on anything. I mean, think about the kind of precedent that leaves you in and the setting that it puts you in.
I agree. But I think that's been a problem for way longer than since just now. Like, I think this has been a problem. I think this is one of the legitimate criticisms of Rogan's podcast for a super long time, is that it leans ideologically to the right. And I don't really care if you want to have, any ideology should have their own space. But the whole thing with Rogan is that they're just a group of like truth tellers who are out to discover the truth. But how can you really be out to discover the truth and discuss ideas if you're mostly really only talking to one side?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think too that it's
and to extend that, like, this has been a problem with Tucker for I think his entire career. And I'm not old enough to have followed him throughout his entire career, but this is not new. And it seems like Ben only really cares now. And I could be wrong. He could have some other criticisms, but I've not seen him. Like, he's only talking about it now because it really affects him, because he's super invested in the whole, Jewish narrative. And obviously it's becoming a huge thing with the rise of Nick Fuentes' career.
That part. I also think it's dangerous, bro. It's a dangerous place to be. And I think that if you feel compelled to step in front of it and try to, I don't think that this is necessarily a clout chasing video. I can hear in Ben's voice that he really means what he's saying. I'm not saying
he's clout chasing. It just bugs me that this has been a problem. This dishonest representation of people's ideas to make them look more palatable has been a problem. And he's only just now touching on it, not for clout, but because it affects him.
Yeah.
That's what I care about. I don't think he's doing it for clout. I think he's just mad because it affects him.
And I think that it might be a good thing for all of us to start trying to call things out before it really affects us. That's for sure. I mean, even as a content creator with my little bit of followers that I have over on my other channel, I feel like there is, I've told you this before, I think that there's a sense of you feel like you're speaking to a direct group of people, but really it's much bigger than that. Yeah. And whenever whenever you focus, I'm just talking about on the scheme of content creating, whenever you focus on the smaller portion of the group, you're doing yourself and your followers and the other people watching a major disservice, because you're not giving it all that you can give. And
yeah, we talked about this a little bit last week with how I felt like Ben, if that's a big if Nick's characterization of what happened to him, where he was blacklisted from all of Ben Shapiro's stuff, is an honest characterization, then that's bad. Now I think we're at
why do you think that's bad?
It almost lends credence to his ideology in a way. Like, if you're unable to talk to someone, it kind of gives them this mysterious power, because it's like, oh, what are you afraid of? I think it's the age-old internet thing of what, you a pussy?
Yeah.
Where you can't win because you know, even if you're not a pussy, if you don't want to just talk to the guy, then you look bad. So you almost have to talk to him because it gives him this like mystique of like, well, does he have something valid to say? Like, why won't you talk to him? And I think especially now, like it's almost different because he has risen to a level of like, you can't ignore him. So I think this whole, and
Yes.
I agree with a lot of what was said on this video, but I have a couple clips where I want to talk about, I don't agree with how Ben went about it. And some of the things that he clipped were obviously jokes, which I guess we can get to, but like, why not just try to talk to the guy? Like, I really like
maybe
you were
he
talking.
has. Maybe he has. And I mean, I don't think, you don't think so?
He said for virtually his entire career, the guy like blacklisted him. Like ever since like 2018 or something.
Well,
like
I want to say, let's say this though, like what if Ben really sees him is like a little, like what if Ben knows Nick on a deeper level and he says, this guy is genuinely a threat to society. And he really feels that way in his deepest of spirits. So he does do the blacklisting thing and he's like, I don't want nothing to do with him. But now he has seen that he's gotten to this point of relevancy that he can't escape.
So
like,
why doesn't
Ben
he
can't
try to talk
escape
to
it.
him?
Maybe he is now. Maybe he is
I
now.
think he should.
But I think that Nick is in a position now where Nick is probably like, no, I'm cool.
I mean, I think, and I hate to say this because first off, I love, as someone who's not on the right, I think it's hilarious watching them do all this crazy infighting, which kind of is what the left has been doing for ages. The left loves fucking canceling each other. And so it's great to see this happening on the other side for once, you know, all the fucking oppression Olympics and, you know, who can be more woke and all that bullshit, I think is super cringe. And this is almost that at this point for the right.
I hate it too, man, because it's also like for young men, right? You're 17, 18 years old and you're thinking about what you want to do with your life, like thinking about, maybe I want to get married. Maybe I want to go to college. I've been dating this girl for 6 months. I'm trying to do things the right way. And the structure in the way that like let's say the structure in the way that Nick preaches, you should do like marriage and you should do family and that you should do, you know, staying away from corn and stuff like that. And that kid says, I think there's something to this. The danger in this is when that kid starts thinking all these other ideologies are a way of living. And that's why I think that the importance of what Ben just did is what everybody needs to be doing. I think everybody needs to be calling. And I think that also other creators need to be more receptive to the call-outs.
We talked about that. I mean, we talked about trying to have principled leaders. And I think we should also have principled political commentators. And I think one of the downsides to that is you don't have this unified party where I think the right has tried to be that a lot of times where like at all costs, we will not give any ground. We will not make any concessions. We will not condemn anything. You can go fuck yourself. And it worked for them. But now they've found, I guess they found the one wedge issue, which weirdly enough is fucking Israel or the Jews or whatever, that like they're actually willing, which it almost lends itself, it does kind of lend itself to conspiracy, I guess, because it's just such a small issue. But you know,
well, it depends. I mean, is it like if you feel called by God to pray for these people and you feel like they are God's chosen people, you're going to feel a sense of like a real protection module there, especially if you really like, I'm not perfect, man. I'm not the perfect Christian, but I feel like that is the standard that I try to live my life by. And I do feel like it's of the utmost importance to pray for Israel and, you know, do what God called us to do biblically in that way. And I also think that it's dangerous for you to go against what God says biblically and then call yourself a Christian or a Catholic.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of, I think Ben went about this the really wrong way. You know, like when a CEO has one of those really cringe videos where they do like the fucking the guy who was caught at the U2 concert, was it? With his mistress or whatever. And he has like just the worst apology. He tries to like sue them or something like that. Yeah. You know, like this is like that's what Ben Shapiro is doing here, in my opinion. He just did the cringe thing that Nick always complains about the left doing. And it's just giving Nick more ammunition, in my opinion.
Oh man, but how do you get around that? Because I feel like this was so excellently prosecuted, bro. Like,
really?
I do, dude. I think he nailed
it. I hate to be the one. Why am I the one defending fucking Fuentes here? But like, I think he's right. Like, I think it looks like a cringe lefty takedown of like, we owned you. We found all your clips from 10 years ago, you know?
No,
like,
it's not just the clips. It's like the commonsensical aspect of it of just like, look at this.
I mean,
this is y'all's king. Like that's what this was in the best way to me.
I think it is crazy. And I do think we'll pull it up too. There was a clip where Charlie Kirk just absolutely cooked one of Nick Fuentes' supporters.
Yeah.
Which was
we
awesome.
do need to pull that up and talk about it. Charlie Kirk is my dog.
Here, all right, let's pull up some clips.
Yeah, let's pull it up.
Charlie Kirk had to say about Nick Fuentes' agenda.
But if you go back to the original founding fathers, they intended this to be a European nation for white men of good stock and character.
Can you show me? Let me answer the question. Can you show me where in the United States Constitution it says that?
It wasn't in the Constitution.
It wasn't in the Constitution because they didn't believe it.
The founding.
What does the phrase "e pluribus unum" mean? What does the phrase "e pluribus unum" mean?
Why is that relevant?
Because it was on every founding document and presidential seal from our founding, which means out of many, one. You, sir, and your ideology is not conservative. It is right-wing, identitarian. It has no place in the conservative movement, my friend. Get out of line. Get out of line.
Hell yeah.
That's my dog, bro.
Hell yeah.
Right here. Nah, that's my boy, bro. I love that. And I just love standing on your principalities. I wish I knew the Bible like him. I wish that I mean, he really had the gift of gab, bro, but that was incredible.
That's what we were talking about. Like, that is how you fucking destroy Nick Fuentes, is you pin him down and he's fucking squirming and you fucking shove his face in all of his own bullshit and show where his contradictions are. And that's the only way to do it. And that's why when we were talking about last week, where Tucker Carlson wasn't pushing back hard enough on him to really get to the nitty gritty, to the problems with his ideology,
and when he had opportunities to, he dipped from it. I will say that. I do feel like he pushed him a couple of times. I don't want to take away from that. But not enough.
That's the thing is if you back up just before the very end, it doesn't matter. Like it almost makes him look better because it's like fake pushback. It's the whole narrative of like Ben Shapiro is controlled opposition. Yeah. You know, like this control, it basically does the same effect where it makes him look better because like, he did get pushed back and his views aren't that crazy. But in reality, they didn't take it to the fullest extent and crush him like Charlie Kirk just did to the Nick Fuentes fan, right?
And dude, and I urge you guys, because I saw something that I loved whenever Charlie Kirk passed away, which was "We are Charlie. We are Charlie." I dig it, bro. Like, I dig that. I stand by it, bro. Everything that I've seen from Charlie Kirk, I admire Charlie Kirk. I thought Charlie Kirk was fire. I think that he had a good head on his shoulders, and I think that he was doing the right thing. I think that is a way better sentiment than "We are Nick Fuentes." And I think that, like, I mean, I know I'm the Christian guy or whatever, bro, but just look at the dude that was talking on the microphone anyway, bro. Like, he looked like somebody that really probably struggled to get through in life.
Well, that's who Nick Fuentes preys on, is the disgruntled people who they feel like everything's stacked against them and they need one guy to blame it on. They need to blame it on somebody, so they'll blame it on the Jews so they can feel better and be like, well, it's not my fault I can't get a girlfriend. It's the Jews' fault for brainwashing all the white women that they need black guys to date or something like that. It has
nothing to do with your mustache or the way that you wear your clothes and tuck your shirt in to go to it has nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with your swag, nothing to do with your style, nothing to do with the fact that you're completely uncultured, which is why you really don't get any girls anyway. It's always somebody else's fault. I learned really quick with my addiction, man. I've been clean from drugs for 10 years, bro. Let me tell you, the best piece of advice that I can give you in life in general is that always look to you. It's your fault. Figure out a way to overcome. Well, that's my stance.
Let's switch us back to Ben Shapiro. So I think Charlie Kirk...
I want to talk about me some more.
Okay,
I'm just
sorry.
Kidding. Go back.
I didn't mean to interrupt the Nelson Fest. Yeah, so I think that's how you do it. And I think that's what Ben Shapiro should have done. I think this looks... And I don't know. I think the left is better than Charlie or Ben would describe it as. But I think this looks like what they would characterize the left as doing a takedown.
Yeah.
So...
I would agree, actually, as someone that does lean a little bit more conservative. I feel like I would agree with that. And I'm starting to see that more and more. the more that this continues to happen with the Nick Fuentes is going on his rounds. Why is he going on rounds, by the way? Why is he doing all of these interviews recently?
There's a void. There's a void in power begets competition or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or power can't tolerate a vacuum, something like that. There's some quote, but he sees an opening and he's going to try to capitalize.
Okay.
And fill that opening if he can become the new Charlie Kirk.
I didn't know if he was like trying to sell a book or
no.
All right, so
it's
that
just
makes
his
sense.
ideology
So he
all
is
the time.
trying that. All right, so he's trying to become the new Charlie Kirk, which I think that's very relevant actually. Where I would normally feel like that's something that we could chump off and not even talk about. I feel like that's extremely relevant because I think people are actually putting their 2 pennies in this basket, and it scares me. It terrifies me.
I think he's trying to rebrand himself, and basically, and I think pulling up all of the 10-year-old clips of his is a bad look. Like it gives him an out. It gives him a deflection.
But
like,
what do you bring up? Because
you talk to him and you find the logical conclusion.
We're
right?
in agreement
because,
there.
Well, here's the thing: is that's what Nick Fuentes does so perfectly. Is
right.
He says crazy stuff in the sense that they're crazy, abhorrent things that are terrible, but he also says crazy, abhorrent things in a way to joke. Saying that he likes Hitler and all these other crazy things are obviously a joke, but he hides behind that because there's some jokes and some legitimate things he says that are both equally crazy, but he'll just pretend, oh, I was just saying all that to, meme and trigger all the libs.
I don't know if I'm sold on the fact that he's joking, bro. I think that he, like the way that he talked about Stalin in that clip, and there was no pushback. Like that's the part where he was like, hey, you know what? We'll come back around to this, guys. When he says that, I don't know if I'm sold on. I think I'm more sold on he actually has admiration and love for Hitler and Stalin than not.
I think he probably does, but I think when he says like Hitler was a cool guy, I think that is probably just trolling. And I think it's
hold on to that thought. I think that that's tiptoeing to see what you can get away with. And if you open the door all the way and it's okay, then that's what I'm going to tell you for sure. That I'm going to tell you my whole ideology comes from this. That's why I'm not sold on it.
Well, I think regardless, I think it gives him an out. Even if you're right, I think it gives him an out. And Ben's approach should be to just hold his head to the fire and say, tell me what the consequences of your beliefs are, and go from there instead of just like doing this whole takedown piece of like 5 to 10-year-old clips, which is something that everybody on the right has been complaining about constantly. Yeah. Like you can't simultaneously complain about people getting canceled over 5 to 10-year-old clips for the past 5 to 10 to however many years, and then try to do the same thing to the guy you don't like. You have to follow your own logic.
That's a solid point. I wish, but there are people like you also have to think of a way to make it happen, because like Ruslan has been saying like, I'll debate him. I want him to come up here. I'm inviting you to the table, and he will not. And that's Ruslan. The other way, that's not even Ben.
Because Nick, he'll say, oh, I was just joking in the clip. But then if you ask him, say, okay, well, if you were just joking, have you changed your mind? Like, that's another way. You can use the clip as a way to pin him down on what he believed and say, oh, well, you said, back then that you thought sleeping like a black guy was equivalent to sleeping with a dog. Do you still believe that?
Yeah.
Or whatever, right?
Or do you still think that that's funny? Yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean, if you're joking, you're trying to make a laugh,
Either way, I think that would have been a better approach.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with you, but I also think that this is a good start. I do. I think it's a good start. And I would hope, my sincere prayer is that the rest of the country, like the whole Republican Party and the whole conservativeship, doesn't just go down this road of like, oh, well, Charlie's gone. And because what I've heard a few different times is that, now that Charlie was the vocalist, now that he's gone, this is what you're left with. And I sincerely hope that that's not true, you know?
I just think it was funny how, we'll pull it up. We've got a quote of Nick talking about Tucker before he went on Tucker Carlson.
Oh, yeah. Let's pull that up.
Jerusalem. But I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Tucker Carlson says, I have so many trust funds, I never have to work. Tucker went to a $45,000 per year private high school, then a $45,000 per year selective Ivy League school in New England. Tucker Carlson's daddy was a Reagan appointee. And then, after years of bragging about being an elite, bragging about being so out of touch and so rich. Now he's going to be the spokesperson for all the white people. Now he's going to roll up his sleeves. I just like to hunt and fish in my log cabin. I care about Klarna and credit card debt.
That's actually kind of funny.
But then when it comes to me, I'm one of the real disaffected white people.
So first off, I again with the white people thing, like, why do middle class people have to be white? But aside from that, like, it's crazy. This is the kind of shit I was talking about. Like, how can he go from cooking him so hard a couple weeks before to, or a little bit before, to just going on a show and being all, you know,
I
like,
mean, Tucker
cheerful.
did. They're going to say, like, Tucker did, you know, you were just saying some crazy things about me. Like, but that's not enough, bro. If you said all that about me, then we're going to have a real conversation whenever I talk to you.
about it.
It doesn't have to be a confrontational conversation either, man. A lot of people think that just like every conversation that has anything to do with an opposing viewpoint has to be a confrontational conversation. That's not true. You can just have like a simple chat. I do it all the time with you.
Yeah, and it gives credence to Ben's point of this ideological car wash where you can just clean off all your fucked up ideas, because Tucker will be like super charitable. It's the same thing. I think they had clips of Tucker going to that Russian grocery store where all this crazy shit is going on with the Russia-Ukraine war and all this stuff. And Tucker's just like, oh, look how cheap the milk is. Like, bro, even
that was crazy,
like,
dude.
Yeah, that shit is so unhinged.
And listen, I think Tucker is a great commentator, and I think he's a great content creator, and I do like his questions that he asks. I would appreciate more pushback. That's why I've always liked Ben. I've said, like, since I've known who Ben Shapiro was, I've always rocked with Ben. I've always felt like he was solid. I've always felt like if it's something to call out, it doesn't matter what side he's on. It doesn't matter what side the problem is on. I feel like he'll call it out. And I feel like some people are made like that, and some people are made like Tucker, where they're not.
I think we need more of this in society as a whole. Like,
me too.
I think we're so fucking fragile these days, and even just in friendships, like, people can barely call their friends out when they do some dumb ass shit. Like, if you have friendships end over stuff like this, where someone will just do something really stupid, and I think it would make us better as a society if we could just be like, bro, that was stupid. Like, it's not her fault. It's your fault.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with you? But we're like so fucking hell bent on just affirming what each other believe, affirm what each other believe, affirm what each other believe. Like, oh, it wasn't you, bro. It was totally her. Fuck that bitch. You know, like, whatever it is. It's just,
and it does. It starts at the basic. It starts at the basic level like that. I think, and
the point where, you know, they can talk all this shit behind the monitor, and then, as soon as it's convenient for both of them, and they know they're gonna get 5 million views in a couple days, they'll just fucking make nice, and no matter the cost. Like, it's crazy. I just, like, where would the line be? Like,
and I would love to see a piece of content where it was like a real, I got an issue, and then you sort the issue out, and then you hit the camaraderie at the end. I would love to see content like that.
Think about it. Like, think about the most controversial person. Like, I don't even know. I guess think about
probably Kanye West.
Well, I was gonna say the guy who shot Charlie Kirk.
Oh yeah.
But like, imagine a left-wing podcaster gets that guy, Tyler Robinson, on the podcast, and they just have a normal conversation.
Yeah.
And they don't ever address the fact that he fucking murdered this dude.
Right.
Like, and not to equate Nick Fuentes to being as bad or whatever as killing people.
Oh, of course not. Yeah. Yeah.
These are two people with radically divisive things that they've done. Well, I guess, less so for the killing of Charlie Kirk, but just crazy things about them. You can't just ignore the literal, like, elephant in the room. It's so suspicious and weird.
And
why can't you ask him about it?
It's almost gotten to the point now where it's expected. You just kind of expect it to be light.
Well, and it's like the Joe Rogan effect, you know? You fucking,
that's my dog, but that's true.
For
bro.
3 hours, you fucking smoke a little bit of weed, and suddenly he's a great guy, no matter who the fuck you are.
Maybe
or whatever
quit smoking weed on the podcast, bro, because we does do that. We does make, like, it's cool right now, bro. We'll worry about all that shit later, bro. We're cooling right now. We're just conversing. I remember, bro, when I used to smoke, bro, it didn't matter who it was with. It didn't matter if you were my enemy. And during that time frame, we cool, bro. It's fine.
We had one of our viewers tell me to check out the Dave Smith podcast with Nick Fuentes. And this was, I think, a few weeks before all of this. Mm-hmm. So he had even more smoke for Tucker Carlson then. But we won't get into that. But he did kind of the same thing where when they were introducing each other in the first 30 minutes, he's like, Dave Smith, before Nick said anything about like his weird racial views and getting rid of all the black people and having a separate white country, Dave was like, oh, that whole ethno-state thing, it's a non-starter for me. I don't even think it's realistic. He's like preempting.
But bro, like, yeah.
He's preempting. He's like giving Nick a soft landing for his crazy thing and like barely lightly addressing it. Like,
no, it's a dangerous ideology, bro. Well, like, because this is what you like. It's a non-starter for me. Okay, if it's a non-starter for you, that's great. But whenever this following continues to grow and it continues to build, and nobody presses and nobody gives any real pushback to his face, what you're going to end up having is a lot of people that like I said in the beginning, like they will find an ideology, they'll attach themselves to it, and they will grow with that person, and then they'll just, oh well, I know he thinks this. I didn't used to think this, but I'll rock with it.
But this is what the far left and the far right have in common. They will take advantage of, I'll say liberalism, not in the sense of like being like on the left, but in the sense of like freedom, maximizing freedom.
Okay.
Where they'll take advantage of all of the free speech and all of the platforming and, not canceling, right? But as soon as either of them have power, they will stop the fucking free speech. And you can look at people like Nick Fuentes talking about how he would clamp down on people who what's the tech, not desecration, but about how people would talk badly about religion. And then you look at people like Hassan Piker who say, oh, if someone's against socialism or communism, we'll send them to re-education camps, right? Like they'll take advantage of the charity you have in your conversations and use it to sell you this crazy ideology that doesn't reciprocate the same caring for your free speech, right? And like once you get too far, and I don't know, I'm not trying to be alarmist, but you can't turn back because they will take the same vehicle that they use to gain power and cut it out from under you so you can never get power back.
Yeah.
Because that's all they want is political power. They don't want, well, and maybe in their minds, if we're being super charitable, they think it's sort of the best for society, but one of their values is not ideological competition. They just use it to get where they want to go.
Like and that's why,
yes.
I don't like that. I agree. I would hate to see it turn into that. I would hate to see it for the same reason that all these different groups might attach themselves to it. Like if you see Christians start to, well, this guy's talking about Catholicism, and it's the same thing. Like you're 13, 14, 15 years old, you're 16, 17, 18 years old, and you just attach yourself to these ideologies. And like he said, and you don't have any pushback. And
let's pull up a Dave Smith clip real quick and we'll show you.
They want a situation where, like you said, we're going to have happy liberal whites, blacks, Hispanics, Asians all living together. I just don't know how possible that is at this point. And that's where people start to talk about, can we disintegrate? We were forcibly integrated with immigration and after Civil Rights Act. Can we now go our separate ways? I don't know that that's actually even a good thing, though. I don't know that that's even like a good answer. But I would say where it starts is just with honesty. Ultimately, there's got to be a recognition that there are legitimate grievances on both sides, and they're
So he says he doesn't know if it's even possible for us to disintegrate, but that's his end goal.
Right.
I just throughout this whole interview, we could try to pull up a couple more clips, but I just feel like a lot of it was basically, Nick, them both joking back and forth saying, oh, well, we got called racist for all these stupid reasons because we made jokes or we said these true things, whatever. But in my mind, you have Dave Smith here who is just projecting his own views onto Fuentes. In Dave Smith's head, he's like, oh, well, I know I'm not racist, and they called me racist because I made whatever joke. So must also be the same case for him. But even Nick Fuentes says that he doesn't think he's racist. But when Fuentes says that, based on everything I've seen of him, he doesn't think he's racist, but he also thinks that white people and black people can't get along because they have inherent genetic differences.
Nuts.
And black people are more militant and lower IQ and all these other things. So they just are biologically incapable of getting along with white people.
Mm-hmm.
But Dave Smith is not thinking that. Like,
I honestly feel like the best thing that we can even show Nick Fuentes is that white people aren't all similar in that way. Maybe he thinks that even white people are all similar in this way, and that he's just got this wake up call for everybody.
That's the thing, is I've seen him in debates, and I've seen someone give him the hypothetical of, would you rather have a country full of or would you have more in common with a country full of Mexican Catholics than Swedish atheist, white people?
Interesting question. What did he say?
I don't remember the exact answer, but we'd have to pull it. We'd have to pull it up. I think it was a debate with Destiny or something like that.
Oh, that's a good question, man.
But I think he said the white people. But I mean, let's be real. Like, if we're being so real, who has more in common with Nick Fuentes, the guy who's 25% Mexican, and his entire identity, aside from being white, is about being Catholic? Compare that to a bunch of fucking Swedish, fucking liberal, white atheist people.
I don't know. I think Nick stands on his own island. I don't know.
I'm just talking about if we're talking about who has more in common. Because, like,
I don't think anything that I have seen, and I'm trying to be fair, is precedented in faith. I don't think that anything that he says is precedented in his faith. I think
so you don't think anyone has?
No, no. I think that he's Matt. I probably shouldn't say this, but when I see him and everything that I have seen, I feel like he is using faith as a way to hook and sink and hook and line people. And I've seen that a lot. Which is why I think it would be a great idea for him to go on Ruslan and let somebody who knows the Bible better than anybody else in YouTube content creator land have the conversation with him, have the interview.
I don't know if he's had a religious debate before.
Yeah, it would be good. But then again, like, I'm super in touch with my faith, and I don't know the Bible like I should. You know, it's deep. But the question I think would ultimately be this: like, all right, so let's say that he finds out that Jesus is totally against a belief system of his. Do you think that he surrenders, or do you think that he says, "Ooh, well, I don't know if"?
I mean, I think he would try to find a way to rationalize it, if we're being real.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his whole entire political ideology is finding convenient facts that affirm his views. Like,
and going back to description versus descriptive versus prescriptive, right? So I hear a lot of descriptive problems and a lot of descriptive issues, but even with his prescriptions, who is he aligning will fix those problems? Him?
I think he's trying to. I think he's trying to get enough political power. And I think I'll give him that credit. I think there's a lot of political figures who will just, like, rage against the machine, and, they're all trying to fuck you over, but they don't give you, like, actual steps to have a solution. But right. I think Nick Fuentes, to his credit, has been, in the same way, not to draw the comparison again, but in the same way Charlie Kirk has, very effective at building, like, a political machine, where Nick in the Dave Smith video was talking, or maybe it was a different clip from the Ben thing, where he was talking about fucking TPUSA and impregnating it with all of his groypers or whatever. Man. Like, he has done a good job at, like, creating these real world political vehicles for power, where, like, he even had Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, fuck, he went with Kanye to be with Trump, right? Like, that's not an insignificant thing. So
there are some ways that I respect him. I respect him in standing on his business. I respect him in standing on
and how effective he is politically, for sure.
I do. Yeah.
So
I just think it's dangerous.
Yes, and I think there's a lot of danger in getting people riled up at the system and not giving them an outlet. But I also think that his outlet is not the right one, of, like, where his end game is separating society and trying to, whether, violently or whatever be damned, just separate society so we can have our sacred white ethno state.
God, I imagine that being a normalized thing to say. But does it become? I'm genuinely asking here. Like, does it become this way after, how long has it been? Maybe 10 years. 10 years of, like, people feeling like they have to apologetically be white. Like, you know what I mean? Because that has been a thing. It's been a thing to some people. Is this the results of that to a younger generation?
If you define yourself by being the polar opposite of the guy you hate the most, they have just as much control over you as if they're just controlling you.
That's a really That's a really good point, dude.
Like,
that's
what's the
we're
point?
at today.
If you hate everything the government tells you to like, then you're just as controlled by the government as the people who buy into everything and take all the fucking
That's a really
injections
good
and
point,
everything.
man. I don't think enough people think about that. That's very true.
Well, no, because it feels good to fucking be mad and say, no, fuck you, you're wrong.
Yeah, rage against the system type deal.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, damn, this shit's dragging on. Where should we go with it? Should we give Ben a review and see how he did, or we could yap more about how much we disagree with Fuentes? I feel like we were pretty balanced, though. Especially me. I'm proud of myself and disappointed semi because I defended him so much.
I'll do this, man. I'll extend Nick a little bit of grace because I really don't. I still don't. I can't fully wrap my mind around it, but I feel like what he is prescribing is extremely dangerous. And I think that it's more, I actually want to say that this might be the most radicalized I've ever seen, and just open and freely. And I'm worried about what floodgates that opens. And I think that if you are a fan of Nick Fuentes and you really rock with his ideology and you see this without any pushback, you should feel a way about what might also come with that without any pushback in the future. That's kind of where I stand on it. I think it's just dangerous. I think it's just super dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, it's just funny because on one hand, you have the guy whose entire identity, Nick Fuentes, who's pushing basically identity politics. And then on the other hand, you have Ben Shapiro, who's trying to do the cancel culture thing that they've bitched about for the past 10 years. So they're both wielding like weapons of the left in their own different ways, and they're sparring, but it's on the right.
And that is true. But I will say sometimes, man, like, I guess I'll say it, bro. Like, cancel culture, I've always stood against it. I've always thought that it was crazy. Like, you can't take away a man's job because he said the N-word 10 years ago. You can't.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You can't do it. But these are very low-scale issues. And this is such a high-scale sense of danger that I feel like I'm going to give Ben Shapiro the benefit of the doubt here. I think that Ben Shapiro sees something as extremely dangerous and he's trying to nip it in the bud before it gets bigger. He's at least doing his part. I think that he should have a conversation with him too, but I don't think that Nick Fuentes would sit in front of him.
My problem, well, I agree, but I think it's a better look for Ben to say, listen, you have all these crazy things you've said, and you're right. I denied you the chance to talk back then, but here's your opportunity. Let's fucking go. Now, obviously, it's high risk, but I don't know. I think this video and all of the fucking crazy shit that's happened. I mean, there was, I don't know, some Jewish Republican convention thing where Mark Levin and a bunch of other Jewish conservative figures were talking shit about Fuentes. And then you have all the Ted Cruz and everything. It just, in my opinion, it just pours like fucking gasoline on the fire and gives him more ammo. Whereas if you could like actually have a conversation and pin him down and say, listen, because Charlie Kirk knew. I mean, Charlie Kirk was on it. Like, this is cancerous to the conservative ideology, and he knew it would fucking rip it. Not only like rip it apart in how divisive it is, but it's just a terrible look for a lot of like the people like you who are more in the center, who are looking at it and being like, guys, are we really even humoring this conversation? It's like all the people on the far left who just have these crazy like dear gender pronouns and all these just insane takes where they just seem to not live at all in reality, and they get pinned on the left. And that's the thing, is the right
and define reality real quick. Well, like, what you mean by reality there, because like that by reality, when I hear that, go ahead.
The right has done such a good job, and I obviously it even happens to this day of painting the far left as if it's the mainstream left. But the right has at the same time done a really good job of pointing at all the actual racist people and being like, you think of turning it around on left and saying, we're not actually racist. What are you talking about? Like Nick Fuentes and stuff like that, who for a long time used that shit as a shield of being like, oh, y'all will cancel anybody. I mean, look at me. Like, and they just kind of ignored it. I mean, you look like, I feel like it was super non-controversial, the Nick Fuentes thing. I mean, you know, some of the Jewish people back in the day canceled him, but now everybody, now the entire, you know, mainstream right is trying to come out and cancel him. It's a whole thing. And they waited until now.
Are we moving towards a place, you think, where actions don't speak louder than words anymore? You know what I mean? I'm starting to feel like words speak louder than action. Because when I look at him and I look at his situation and I think about what his actions say against what his words are, all I know is his words. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can't even tell. And that's kind of the danger of it all. I think that the simplistic nature of some of the ideology we came up with, like I was always told by my parents, like actions speak louder than words. I live my life by that in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just in the back of my mind. I know in the back of my head that my actions need to be louder than my words are, or they need to at least fall in line with what my words are saying they are. So we're moving to a place where people are literally idolizing people where you've never really seen their actions. All you know is their words.
What we don't want to see his actions is the problem.
I know. Yeah, for sure. I'm just saying, like, how do you even, like, how do you get behind, like, you don't even know, like, you know, you don't even know if he's really willing to take it there. And then that's even more dangerous because you're gearing up and he's so young. God, he's young, bro. And he might not realize how big of a responsibility that is whenever you're literally like amping up this whole crowd of people, which is getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the day, especially now that Charlie Kirk has passed away. And if they end up finding out that he's not even willing to back up his words, they might get crazy. That's part of the danger that I see.
But Nick is strategic, right? Like,
for sure.
He is too smart now. That's why I think he doesn't do a lot of debates now, is because he knows the negative consequences that can come of it. So he goes for all these Tucker Carlson, Dave Smith, all these softball interviews where he can kind of have his own little platform to talk about whatever he wants to talk about. Well, I say little platform, his own huge platform to talk about whatever he wants to and make it more mainstream. So I don't know. I don't think he's going to regret it, but I wish, just as somebody who opposes the ideology, even though I do think it's better for liberals in general that the right rips themselves apart like this, just as someone who doesn't want to see the right turn into the party of Nick Fuentes, I wish Ben would have gone about it a different way, and tried to at least stick with the, like, where the party of ideological freedom and, you know, we'll debate any idea, whatever, and tried to follow through with that. Because I think he just kind of doubled down with what he did originally with Fuentes, which is like try to blacklist him and just talk shit about him. And it didn't work the first time. Fuentes is still here and he's bigger than ever. So you need to try a different approach, buddy.
Well, I also aim for the whole right to prove you wrong in that way. At least I hope so. To
prove.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think
the problem is
that,
the Heritage Foundation is supporting Tucker on this. And I mean, they're I think the biggest right-wing think tank in America these days. I mean,
they'll say what, like, of course we back this up. He's having the conversation. You know what I mean? Is that what it is? Like, what do you mean?
I don't remember what exactly the quote is from the leader of the Heritage Foundation, but they definitely backed up Tucker. So it's, you know, you have huge figures like Ben Shapiro and then Tucker and all them. So, I mean, we'll see. But from my perspective right now, it looks like Fuentes is kind of winning, although I guess he's not losing, right? Like, people are defending Tucker.
No, he's getting bigger every day.
Yeah. So
stand your ground out there, people. Just stand your ground in what you believe in and make sure, like, you don't have to. I guess my ending message would just be that you don't have to. You don't have to completely attribute yourself to somebody because of one or two things that you might agree with when you disagree heavily with the other 60%, 70%.
Don't insert your ideas into somebody else's head who agrees with you. I saw this. Someone commented on our last video about Nick Fuentes and said I was Dawn. And I think we're going to, I invited her to have a conversation.
Shout out to Mama Dawn. Love you, Mama Dawn.
I invited her to have a conversation. Obviously, you know, no pressure. But she said this with Nick Fuentes, where she was like, oh, Dylan, you're talking about congressional representation, not the election, with regard to flipping Texas blue. And I was like, no. You know, it specifically was about national elections. And like, just because you've heard this narrative of people having this misinterpretation of people on your side. Doesn't mean that everybody's doing it all the time. Like, I think it's just this desire to be ultra charitable to everybody on your side that can kind of get you in trouble. Like, I try to do this, God knows, probably too much, and I get in trouble. Like, I'm critical of everything everybody tells me at all times.
You are, yeah.
And yeah, you can back this up because you've known me forever. Like,
it's annoying, honestly. Yeah, it's annoying.
And it pisses off my girlfriend too.
He does it with the software that we're talking to you through, but it's annoying.
Well, but not even that. Like, my girlfriend will tell me some like random story, and I'm like, that doesn't really sound true. But like, don't have that level of skepticism, but try, like, if you hear something bad about the left, don't just immediately assume it's true because you don't like them. Or if you hear something bad about fucking...
I don't think she does.
I wasn't talking... Sorry. I was using that analogy and I was pivoting. Right. This is not about Mom and Dad. This is just about in general. Like, if I hear something bad about, Nick Fuentes, that he fucking killed a puppy, I'm just going to be like, I don't think he would kill a puppy. You know what I mean? Whereas I feel like a lot of people on either politically extreme, you could say anything you wanted about Chuck Schumer, and any Republican would be like, yeah, I believe it. He's basically the devil, like that level of shit. Just have like a little bit of charity and critical thinking, even for people who agree with you or disagree with you.
Is the puppy white?
That's the question.